Baseball is back, and there really is nothing like a home team advantage. That's why Team Toyota makes an obvious choice for your next vehicle purchase or service. With their MVP pricing guarantee, teammates reward program, and streamlined customer experience, their award-winning sales and service departments are there for all of your vehicle needs. A home team advantage is nothing without family and community. Their employees are part of the family, they're part of your town, and we're all part of the team. Visit teamtoyota.net and choose one of their 3 locations in Langhorne, Glen Mills, or Princeton.
As all of us sit here in the pouring rain and Hurricane Debbie, Tropical Storm Debbie, whatever you want to call her, Corey Seidman is here with me. I'm Spencer Kircher. Corey out in Arizona enjoying the nice hot weather as we are dealing with, just typical weather here in Philadelphia. A little chilly, a little rainy. Haven't seen the sun in a few days, but, kind of makes these West Coast trip games a little harder to wake up to. But we're here now. Corey, it's good to see you. And as we literally just getting started here, some big news just came out on the Phillies front, and a lot of terms of in terms of roster moves.
Yeah, I mean, you might not be seeing the sun, but I think Phillies fans overall are finally starting to see the sun after that month-long slump they were in. This is now 4 of 5 they've won going into the second game of the Arizona series as we sit here to record Friday afternoon. But yeah, a bunch of roster moves by the Phillies. We knew that Austin Hayes was probably going to be placed on the injured list with the hamstring strain because hamstring injuries are not something you want to mess with. You don't want to push it. The Phillies have seen that already. Trey Turner missed 6 weeks with his. It does not sound like Hayes' is nearly as bad as that. Rob Thompson said after Thursday's win that Hayes' hamstring strain sounds similar to Brandon Marsh's. And Brandon Marsh was placed on the IL June 3rd and activated June 15th. So that means, you might see Hayes back within a 2-week time frame. In the meantime, though, playing time will increase for Weston Wilson and Johan Roas. I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit later. But the roster moves then, you got 2 fresh faces up from AAA. Cal Stevenson, an outfielder who spent most of the last 2 seasons with the Iron Pigs. You've probably seen his name a lot because he's performed very well at AAA the last 2 years. More of like a defensive-minded, natural center fielder, left-handed hitter who has exhibited great plate discipline the last 2 years. This year, 58 walks, 59 Ks at AAA. 300 hitter, one of the best players in the International League, and the Phillies are going to give him a chance here. That there wasn't like a clear-cut solution in terms of who do you call up to replace Hayes on the active roster. There were some people saying maybe it would be a Cody Clemens or a Buddy Kennedy who had also been raking at AAA, but the nod goes to Stevenson. And then Max Lazar also comes up from AAA. He had been pitching very well, scoreless in June, was the Phillies minor league pitcher of the month. So 2 guys added to the 40-man roster, and then you have to remove guys from the 40-man roster to make room. So Derek Hall, who's obviously a familiar name to a lot of Phillies fans, he was designated for assignment, just part of a numbers crunch and part of a versatility crunch. The fact that he really could only play the one position in first base, and Max Castillo, the right-handed pitcher, also DFA'd. But I mean, the big deal there is just that Hayes is going to miss some time, and you're going to see a different outfield arrangement here for a little bit. Weston Wilson, to me, I mean, I don't know what you think, but he looks the part to me. He looks like a guy who should be able to produce as a major league reserve. Big outfielder, athletic, has power, has speed, and we keep seeing him produce when given an opportunity.
Yes, dude. And on Thursday night in the series opener in Arizona, obviously gets the scoring started with the 2-out rally there in the 6th. With the ball off the wall in the left field there. I've loved Weston, his at-bats, every opportunity he's gotten lately. I know Ricky Bojas, too. We talked about a lot on that on post-game on Thursday. Whenever he's had that opportunity and having these at-bats, I feel like he has come through. Obviously, and as you mentioned, too, this is going to be more playing time for Johan Roas as well, especially with Hayes going down. Obviously, Johan makes a huge catch in the series finale in L.A. Tyler Phillips on the mound. The Phillies needed that win badly on Wednesday night, and Johan comes up with a huge catch, and Phillips said he went up to him in the locker room afterwards and kind of just was like, "Thank you." And he was like, "What?" I think Phillips said, "You know how I do, Poppy." I believe that was the exact quote that Johan said to him. So, dude, I'm excited for Weston and Johan. Also, pretty excited to see Cal Stevenson. Like as you mentioned, a name that we've heard for a long time. A lot of spring training talk. He's always in that lineup, and coming in games of spring training. And I'm excited to see him get an opportunity here. I guess, dude, what are your expectations for Cal? Just getting at bats, getting playing time. And is it surprising to see, still the best team in baseball make a move like this where a guy's going to try to come up and make his major league debut?
Well, I'm not sure. Well, no, he has a little bit of big league time, actually. I mean,
he does? Okay.
Barely any, but he had, I think it's 29 games of big league experience with the A's and Giants in 22 and 23. He hasn't been up with the Phillies yet, but I don't know. We're going to find out today. I'm going to go to the ballpark once we finish up, but we'll find out what sort of role the Phillies expect Cal Stevenson to play. It would be, you figure it'd be like a bit role because Brandon Marsh is left-handed a hitter. He's he's going to face righties, and I guess you could potentially see situations where you have Marsh in left and Stevenson in center, or Marsh in center, Stevenson in left against a right-handed pitcher. But I do think that in the biggest ripple effect here, it's just going to mean Weston Wilson's going to get more at bats. It's weird because he had that awesome AAA season last year. He went 30-30, homers and steals, came up, several cups of coffee with the Phillies, and he looked good. He took pitches and he swung it well, especially against lefties. Then this year, he kind of had such a rough start to the season at AAA that he wasn't in that picture until the time right around that time when the Phillies went to London. And he had been on fire at AAA and really was ever since. He's come up. We've seen that he strikes me as a guy that you could see having a big at bat in October. I'm not saying he's going to start start game 3 of the NLCS, maybe because of circumstances that has to happen, but strikes me as the kind of guy who might be able to come off the bench in the 7th inning against a left-handed reliever and pick up a big double that people remember. And then with Roas, we've seen the good and bad of him. I've thought these last 2 nights. He comes in midway through the game, what was that, Wednesday in L.A. To replace Hayes, and right away makes that catch against the right center field wall. T-Mac relayed that it was 64 feet that he sprinted, full sprint, and then he jumps. I mean, that's one of the Phillies' best defensive plays of the year. Later on in the game, he dives in shallow center, another play that I think the average defensive center fielder doesn't make. And the reason it stuck out so much with Rojas' defense is because there were several plays the Phillies missed defensively earlier in that game. There was a ball in deep left center that Brandon Marsh missed. There was a Trey Turner miss on a Freddie Freeman bloop single. There was one other that's escaping me right now, but Hayes, right? Austin Hayes in left field in the first inning slid and missed that ball. So all 3 plays, you're thinking, okay, if Marsh is in left, he might make the play Hayes missed. If Rojas is in center, he might make the play Marsh missed. If Edmundo Sosa's at short, he might make the play Turner missed. But whatever, the Phillies ended up winning the game anyway. But then also Rojas was able to beat out an infield single ahead of a Kyle Schwarber 2-run double. He was able to work a walk ahead of a Kyle Schwarber 3-run homer. And then I will say on Friday night, even though he started the night with 2 bad at bats, stranding 5 runners, bunting in a situation he probably shouldn't have been bunting in, he did work another walk ahead of a Kyle Schwarber walk, ahead of Trey Turner's 2-run single, which turned a tie game into a 3-1 Phillies lead that they went on to win the game. So, you saw the good and bad of Johan Rojas. When he's going well, he really does ignite the team, gives you energy. I think it just really, though, it shows you the depth of this roster that when the Phillies lose a piece, they do have several different options. Dave Dombrowski and Sam Fuld have done a really good job of, not just 1 through 25, 1 through 26, but just like 26 through 38, the way they've built it out. Because even Colby Allard, right, who was optioned as well on Friday, Colby Allard pitched pretty well in those 2 starts and 1 bulk relief appearance. He's not a guy who's going to change the complexion of a season or anything, but you need a guy like that to come up and give you solid spot starts. Yeah,
and option back down to Lehigh as of Friday afternoon here before the second game of the 4-game series in Arizona. I was surprisingly very pleased with Colby Allard's performance on Thursday. I mean, just spotting both sides locating both sides of the plate with his fastball. And then, he even mentioned after the game that, that's exactly what I think you asked the question of, you want to locate that fastball and then have these guys chase as they were super, super aggressive. The Diamondbacks were very aggressive with him early on. Man, it was good to see Colby. And we were actually talking about in the office last night, kind of laying out the whole maybe scenario of if you have Allard, you have Phillips, and then you have Spencer Turnbull return, you have Taijuan Walker, you have Banks. Come playoff time, who's going to be, in the bullpen? Who's obviously going to be in the rotation? Obviously, Taijuan will probably get that rotation spot, but it's great that they have this depth with Allard. If they, if another injury happens, he can come in here and step up. Were you just as pleased as I was with Allard's performance?
Yeah, I mean, with him and Tyler Phillips, both of them, they both come up from AAA and located. The big deal has been that they haven't been walking anybody. That's, Allard was a guy who walked like 3 batters per 9 innings in the minors, but I think it's only 2 walks in 13 innings in the majors. Tyler Phillips began with 1 walk in his first 21 innings. In terms of the playoff pitching staff, it shrinks. I mean, you're only going to need 4 starters at maximum. Phillies didn't even use a 4th starter for most of the last 2 postseasons, but obviously the 1-2-3 is going to be some form of Wheeler, Nola, Suarez. You need to get Ranger Suarez back and healthy, obviously.
Sure.
He is supposed to he came out of a 2-inning like up-down session yesterday. So what day of the week?
Thursday.
I always forget what day of the week it is when we're
you're telling me.
So today's Friday. So Thursday, Ranger Suarez did an up-down session. So the Phillies were still in the mode of figuring out what was next for him. Is it live BP? Doesn't sound like Ranger Suarez is going to return during this 6-game homestand when the Phillies are back, but possibly the week after. Taijuan Walker, it does sound like he'll be back Tuesday to start that series opener against the Marlins. If not Tuesday, then Wednesday. But in terms of the playoff pitching staff, you're 1-2-3. You're figuring it's some form of Wheeler, Nola, Suarez. Christopher Sanchez has pitched so well for such a bulk of the season that he's in that picture too. Rather than go to a guy on short rest, he's now solidly in that picture to be the number 4. Again, though, Taijuan Walker is going to be the odd man out if those four guys are healthy. That's just the way it is. You don't use 5 starters in the postseason. The Tanner Banks piece of it, though, that you mentioned, he's a piece that I think is going to be important for the Phillies down the stretch. Not even just in terms of what he is as a lefty specialist or whatever, but the fact that on certain nights you can pitch him 2 innings, it's not just that it saves the bullpen that night, it sets things up the next night. Like Rob Thompson, just watching the way that he maneuvers his bullpen, he really likes to have certain guys who he identifies as these are the guys I'm turning to in a high leverage game tonight. These are the guys I'm turning to in a high leverage game the next night, in terms of being careful to not overwork them. So there are some nights where Thompson goes in knowing, okay, I have Jeff Hoffman, I have Orion Kirkering, and I have Matt Strahm tonight, but I want to stay away from Alvarado and Estevez, right?
Yep.
So when you have a guy like Tanner Banks who enables you to maybe not have to pitch Strahm on a certain night, it makes a difference. And it also stuck out Thursday night in the series opening win over Arizona that the Estevez piece of it all, it's not just having a good closer now, it's that you can use Hoffman earlier, you can use Kirkering earlier. In that game Friday, Kirkering comes in to a spot where you might have been going to Jose Ruiz if you never add Estevez, right? So it just like the trickle-down effect of that bullpen. And that's, the Phillies are getting back to playing the brand of baseball they were in the first half, largely because the bullpen's been protecting the leads, and the offense has been kind of passing the baton, not trying to do too much, as we saw in that big 6th inning in Arizona Thursday night.
Celebrity cook Steve Martirano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martirano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations for Martirano's Prime on OpenTable.
It was funny. Obviously, after Wednesday win over the Dodgers, everyone was like, well, see, they still relied on the long ball. And then they come out Thursday and come up with 3 clutch hits in 6th. Sosa comes through in the 9th. You know my love for Mundo Sosa. We've talked about it a lot. But I mean, I think we'd be remiss to not talk about Schwarber's performance on Wednesday. I mean, it's exactly what the boys needed, right? I think they just needed either him or Harper, one of the big guys, to come up here and have a great performance to take 5 out of 6 from the Dodgers in the season series. Then, you look at his last 15 games, 400, 542, 927 with 22 hits, 8 home runs, and 18 RBIs just in his last 15 games. It's awesome. And it's something that they needed big time. And especially, the 9th inning was just the kind of the icing on the cake.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, he when they seem to need something, he gives them the pick-me-up. Rob Thompson said as much, it seems like when they're in those ruts, he pops through with a leadoff homer. And they obviously have that amazing record, something like a 75 to 80% winning percentage when he hits a leadoff homer. But this has been by far the best of Schwarber's 3 seasons with the Phillies. He's on pace for 10 fewer home runs, but it doesn't matter because he already has matched his career high in singles. He leads the National League in walks. His on-base percentage is like 40. I think it's 40 points higher than his career on-base percentage. So he already had the billing of a power plate selection guy, but he's taken it to another realm this year. And that's just exemplified by the fact that the only other players in all of Major League Baseball who have as many home runs and as high an on-base percentage as Kyle Schwarber are Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, and Juan Soto, who have probably had the 3 best seasons of anybody in the majors this year. Yeah. Schwarber has not had nearly as good a season as them, and he's a DH. So is Ohtani. But he has just been an amazing piece for the Phillies. And it's something I've been thinking about all year with Schwarber, something I thought about at times last year, is that it's such a strange contract to evaluate in retrospect, like what he signed with the Phillies, 4 years, $79 million. In my opinion, he has vastly outperformed that. Even though he is a negative defender who is a DH now, right? Even with that, he is well worth that. What is that, $19 million a year? And it then becomes complicated in just figuring out that next contract, because beyond the production on the field, it's clear that he's such an important piece of this clubhouse in terms of taking young guys under his wing, making them feel comfortable, setting the tone. It's not even just this like big boisterous leadership. It's just that he's like the older cool frat bro. You know what I mean? Like he's that guy. It's and everybody gravitates toward him. And he's, one of the reasons the Phillies have been as successful as they are. That offseason where they signed Schwarber and Castellanos, both of them, another part of it is that they both pretty much played every single day since signing. Schwarber, 155 games in year 1, 160 in year 2. I think he's missed like 10 games this year. And then Castellanos also playing every single day. He's gotten red hot as well. That's been a big part of that too. Yeah,
I was going to bring up Cassie too, but it's been awesome. And we've said it all season. Once he goes, the Phillies go. And everyone was very concerned about this little rut post All-Star break. And then, taking 2 or 3 from the Dodgers, huge series in Arizona, who is hot right now. I think they said second on the wild card as we sit down here on Friday. I think they've won. They're like 26-12 or 24-12 or something like that in the last 30 years. So taking game 1 is huge, and hopefully they can take it into the weekend. But dude, real quick, you brought up Nick. Obviously too, he's just been going and making great plays in the outfield too, and then obviously showing a little fire on Wednesday night after getting hit. And you missed, bro. You missed. Then he added another word in there, and then Strom kind of had his back, and Strom just missed a little bit too. But
I think that Dodgers pitcher got a little intimidated. It's intimidated. You got Nick Castellanos yelling at you, and it was a big miss. I mean. Yeah. You see Bryce Harper react like that sometimes too. These guys, you get hit in the face or you get a ball that comes near your face like that, the chin music with it. Even though Castellanos wears the armor, it's still scary when a pitch is coming at your chin like that. Yeah. And it's a natural reaction. And their attitude with it is, this is the major leagues. You should be able to throw up and in or throw in without that being an issue. Castellanos has gotten hit a couple times the last couple games. I think some of that might be that pitchers are trying to throw him in because he's obviously – when he's getting the ball out over the plate right now, he's doing damage with it. So that's just kind of a response to that. He was also intentionally walked early in that game in Arizona, which was pretty interesting. But I got to roll. I got to head over to the ballpark, talk to some of these new guys like Cal Stevenson, Max Lazar, and the rest, see what Austin Hayes has to say about his hamstring. But thanks a lot for all you guys listening to the Phillies Talk Podcast. For Spencer, I'm Corey. Catch you guys later in the week.